What's a good deal this week in the world of electric vehicles? Let's take one and do some number crunching. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the channel, folks. JD here again. So what we're going to do this week and for the next few weeks is we're going to take a deal of the day and we're going to compare it against personal leasing, PCP, and EV salary sacrifice. So what I'm going to do is just going to nip over to Lease Loco. Lease Loco is a brilliant kind of price comparison site for leases, and they score the best deals. And I can see here, look, on today's top car lease deals, we've got a few that have all got a score of 100. We've got the Ford Capri, the Passat, Peugeot E308, and then we've got a few at 99, the Ford Explorer, the Vauxhall Grandland, etc. So let's take the first one. Let's take the Ford Capri. Let's look at how much it's coming out on a personal lease, how much it would be on a PCP with exactly the same deposit and term and mileage, and then let's have a look at what we might be able to get it for through salary sacrifice. So let's have a look at the Ford Capri then. So let's open this up. Now this is a Capri 210 kilowatt select 77 kilowatt hour. So it's the extended range. So it's going to have a pretty decent range. It's got a decent sized battery. And the nice thing about Lease Loco is that they will give you an indication also as to how much you would save against a PCP. So it's telling me here, look, if we just go back to the main page, it's saying, where have I seen it? It said somewhere, it told me that yeah, there we go, look, save £517 a month. Now that's going to be under a certain specific set of circumstances, but let's see. We'll do this, we'll go over to the Ford website and see what they're offering on a PCP, and we'll compare them. So let's open it up. Now, by default, it's saying £234.08, but that's on a very low mileage of 5,000 a year. It's also on a what this effectively would be called a 12 plus 23. So 12 months up front, followed by 23 equal payments. It's a 2-year lease. So let's make it so that our deposit is 1 month. And then let's also up the mileage to something a bit more reasonable. Now, I've just had a look, and on the Ford website, you can't do 10,000 miles a year on their calculator. You can only do 9 or 12. So let's choose 12,000 miles a year so that we're comparing apples with apples. And on a personal lease, that's coming out at £423.32 a month. So that's no deposit, 12,000 miles, 2 years. Let's see what it would be on 3 years. 413. So there's a lot of leases at the moment that aren't that much difference whether you go 2 or 3 or 4 years. There are some cars, my current car was cheaper on 2 years versus 3 years, which is quite unusual. So let's choose 3 years, 12,000 miles, personal lease, £413.75. Let's go over to the Ford website and we'll choose the same car. So Capri, select, and it's the, let's have a look, make sure we're on the, yes, so the powertrain, look, rear wheel drive extended range, which is the same 77 kilowatt hour battery. It's got a retail price of 48,085, and if we go to the finance window, we'll go to Ford options, which is their PCP, 0 deposit, 36 months, 12,000 miles a year, $676.55 a month. So $676 on a PCP versus $413 on a lease. So how much would we save over the term if we ran it to the full 3 years? So 36 times 413.75. So that's nearly £14,900 over the 3 years. That's what you'd pay on a lease. And on the PCP, 676.55 times 36, 24,300. So almost £10,000 cheaper across the term if you were to lease versus PCP. And what's the advantage of PCP? How many people keep their cars at the end of a 3-year PCP? They normally hand it back. Now, yes, there might be a bit of equity in the car towards the next one. They are guaranteeing the car to be worth 19,700. So after 3 years, if your car's worth more than 19,725 in this case, you've got that for the next one. But it ain't going to be that much. You're not going to have a huge amount of equity in the car, even if there is any. So personally, I would always go leasing now. So that's kind of where we're at, PCP versus lease. Let's now see what we could get this for if you were to salary sacrifice via a straight business lease. Now, I've said before, a lot of salary sacrifice schemes that companies have other elements built in, which make them a little bit more expensive. They might have gap cover built in. They certainly might have insurance built in. So in this case, I'm just assuming a business lease, straight salary sacrifice, and you insure the car yourself. So let's change this to a business lease on Lease Loco. Same terms. 3 years, 1 month, 12,000 miles, coming out at 344.79. Now, I said last week, you can't sacrifice 344.79 in this example. We've got to do something with the VAT element. And on a personal lease, unless it's a pool car, you can only reclaim 50% of the VAT, providing you're a VAT-registered business. So what we're going to do, give or take a couple of quid, we're going to take 344.79, we're going to add on 10% VAT because we can reclaim the other 10. So that means we would be sacrificing £379.27. So what's that going to cost us if we were to sacrifice it? So, as I've said before, I've got some tools available for you to purchase on this channel for a one-off donation of £10. And one of them is this salary sacrifice spreadsheet that I've created. I update it every year when tax changes. Obviously, there aren't really any tax changes this year. Company national insurance has gone up to 15%, but for personal employees, there isn't really any difference this year. But you can get a copy of that. So that's what we're going to use. So we're going to go over to that. And what we're going to do is put in this amount of 379, and we also need to choose tax codes and salaries. So I normally do it for two different kinds of taxpayers, a 20% taxpayer and a 40% taxpayer. So let's assume that we have got a standard tax code which has been frozen until 2028, 1257L, and let's assume we earn £30,000 a year.
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
Thanks, Alexa. So £30,000 a year, no car allowance, no salary, other salary sacrifices. We're going to ignore the pension scheme, etc. We would come out normally with a net salary of £2,093. So now let's see what we could get this CAPRI for if we were to salary sacrifice it. So the salary sacrifice amount, as we said, is $379 in this case. So we need to do it over a year. So 379.27 times 12. So we're sacrificing about 4,500, which means our taxable pay is 25,448. Something to be aware of, and I said this previously, you can't sacrifice an amount which would take your salary below the minimum wage, and that keeps rocketing each year. It's about 24 grand a year now from April 25, assuming a 37.5-hour week. But we're okay. So that would mean, and we'll come back to benefit in kind in a minute, we would basically get that car for 273.07, and then you can see it says on the spreadsheet you're saving 28%, which makes sense. National insurance is now 8% for employees. Income tax in this case is 20%, so we're saving 28%. We've got to remember company car tax though. So on the spreadsheet also, it lets us work out what our company car tax would be. And the big benefit of sacrificing an electric vehicle, unlike other company cars where your benefit in kind can be 20-30%, it's only 2%. And what does that mean? 2% of what? Well, we put the car's value in, which is known as the P11D value. So if we just go over to Ford, does it tell me on here? Yes, so we've got a recommended on the road price of 48,085. So we'll use that figure. So 48,085, and it's fixed at 2%. So all that means is that we take 2% of 48,085, which is this, in this case, is 96170. That comes off your tax code. So our adjusted tax code is now 1161L, and we're effectively going to pay 20% of that. So we're going to pay about, 961 times 0.2, about £192 a year, or about £16 a month in company car tax. So that gives our overall net cost for a 20% taxpayer on this particular Ford Capri example, as at today, 26th of April 25, of £289.10, saving 23.77%. Okay, so that's not bad. 289.10 versus 676.55 on a PCP. So if you are fortunate to work for an employer that has a salary sacrifice scheme, do check them out if you're thinking about leasing an electric vehicle. Now we can save even more. If we're a 40% taxpayer, let's say we now earn £60,000 a year, we would be able to get that car for £252.03 a month with a saving of 33.5%. And if your company chooses to credit you with some of their company NI saving, because if you remember, a company pays 15% on any taxable pay. So if you're sacrificing some of that for a car, the company is saving some of their company NI as well. So if you could get all of your company NI back, which is very unlikely, but if you could actually get this car for in this case, $248.56, because there isn't a big company NI saving, because you only pay it up to a certain amount, and then it's only 2%, and because we're a higher rate taxpayer, there's not a huge saving. But there you go. So I hope that was useful. So we basically could get a Ford Capri for under 300 quid a month at the moment. So as I said, if you like the channel, please do subscribe. Please hit that notification bell so you're notified when a new video is released. If you want a copy of either of the spreadsheets, I've got a PCP spreadsheet which enables you to look at things such as voluntary termination, overpayments, that kind of thing. And then we've also got the salary sacrifice spreadsheet that you've just been looking at me using. Please email me just here, somewhere over there, and you can get a copy of my spreadsheet for a one-off donation of £10. Until next time, thank you very much for watching. Take care.